Okay. All right. We are live.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for our monthly meeting. I'm hoping everybody had a chance to receive the agenda there. If not, I'm sure we could take a moment to send it their way or screen share as well.
Do that. Let's see.
Awesome. Screen sharing even better, so we'll have a chance to read the motto of the social ethic by Rudolf Steiner. This, oh,
Sorry.
no, go for it. Go for it. You want to give a once over?
Okay. Just for.
The healing social life is found when in the mirror of each human soul, the whole community finds its reflection, and when in the community, the virtue of each one is living. Awesome. Do we want to do a Zoom song? Maybe I should have taken that off the agenda if I wasn't willing to to be the bear.
We wish you a happy birthday.
Joyous and celebrated birthday
to
our friend
Mark.
May you live a long, long life. May you live a long, long life.
Oh, shucks. Thanks. Well, I'll start off with excitement sharing then. That's a nice little transition. It's my birthday today. Had an awesome lunch with the family. Tommy's Burgers. It was terrific. Shameless plug for your favorite punk rock burger place. And thank you all for meeting me tonight. Anybody else like to share?
Yeah, I've got officially a knitter in the house. Rhett, my first grader, learned how to knit this week. So he's been excited about it and knitting all on his own.
I just got when I checked my email, I just got our school pictures, and the sibling pictures are really cute, except they're just minus one being. But my fourth grader decided he wanted to get dressed up and wear he wanted to wear tux to pictures, so he wore some kind of suit. So it's just really cute. So thumbs up to the school pictures this year.
I'll just share that Olive, my seventh grader, is super excited to be part of the cross-country running group. She is super stoked, and we went to our first cross-country meet last Friday, I think it was, and John and I felt like we had crossed over into this new chapter of parenthood because we went to like an official sporting event with one of our kids, and it was just really neat to see all the kids from different schools and from Winterberry competing, and just really happy that they have that group, and to Mr. Crawford for running it. So.
Mine's kind of weird. I don't know how many public media fans there are, but on a cycle, yes, Sarah Glasser, wonderful art. So we do pitches on like kind of a schedule for fundraising membership drives or whatever. And I am currently writing, and actually I usually don't enjoy writing a bunch of this copy, but there's a special fundraising episode of Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. And before this, I was writing a bunch of copy for me and Casey Grove to do pitching on that show specifically. And it was really kind of unexpectedly delightful. And I was doing that right up until this meeting started. So that was an unexpected little bit of joy.
All right. Thanks, everybody. No shortage of of excitement sharing. So if we need it, we can probably wrap it up with the gratitude if something else comes to your mind later. Approval of minutes. I'm sorry, team. I wasn't here on the last meeting. I went through the meeting notes there from Molly, Miss Molly, but would somebody else maybe help us give the approval on that?
Someone, I don't think anyone has seen them except you and
Oh.
Julie. So
All right.
I sent the link out, but I didn't get, anyway, I think I could share my screen, or Julie, I just sent them to you if you want to share your screen. There were 2 meetings to get approvals for: August 9th, which was the special session, and then August 19th, which was the first regular meeting of the year.
I gave you screen sharing. If you can do that, Molly, that would be better.
Okay. We'll start with August. Okay, are you seeing? So my notes are in red. This was the special session, August 9th. Here's everyone who was in attendance. I didn't put who was on the phone, although I could add that. And then here are all the comments, the community comments that we had. Oh, and there was a name I could not decipher. Maybe Sarah Glasser, you could help me with that one.
Her name is Mary Rora. Mary, M-A-R-Y, and then Rora is R-O-R-A.
How did I get Kiwi Alexander?
Because that's her son.
Oh, okay. That was off. Okay. And then here's the, it was just one piece of business.
This is Jessie. I move to approve these special meeting minutes as presented.
I'll second. It's Sarah Glasser.
All in favor?
Great, thank you. And I will, let me get the others up here. So here's August 19th, the first regular meeting. No community comments. Thanks, Hatcher Mankins.
Does anybody want to approve those minutes?
I'll move to approve those minutes.
This is Sue. I second.
Thanks, Peter and Sue. Approval of agenda. I added a couple items towards the bottom there that you probably saw. New board members and oh, thank you. And then the training that's coming up. Would anybody else like to add something new to that?
This is Jessie, and I'm sorry I didn't see this earlier or have an opportunity to voice it, but it would be great if we could add a 3-body meeting just as a very brief agenda item to address.
Okay. Just to get like a survey that sort of.
Just a very quick notation of that under business, and I bet that we could do that in under 2 minutes.
Okay. do we need to approve and
So I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I second the motion? I don't think I can I?
No, point of order,
Sorry,
no.
I just
Thank-
like
It's
to help.
okay.
This is Lisa. I second to approve the minutes as addended.
Terrific. That brings us into community comments. Definitely grateful to see a lot of names popping up here right now, so we can all have a chance to be heard. With that said, we'll try to keep it to the 3-minute each, just so that it's fair for everybody. And we'll practice, listening carefully and speaking carefully. Please note, this is the public's time to talk and the board's time to listen. Winterberry Charter Council does not hear complaints against students or personnel in public session. It is not the board's practice to engage in discussion or to answer questions during community comments. Commenters' names will be recorded in the minutes. Thank you. The last way we did our community comments was by raise of hand, I believe. And then we just call on people. Is that correct? Yeah.
And we need a timekeeper.
Oh,
Is anybody willing to be
yeah.
a timekeeper?
I can be the timekeeper again. I don't know if you want me to. Last time when we ran out of time, it was hard to let you guys know. I'm not sure what kind of signal you want me to send when the 3 minutes is up.
I thought it worked well with just holding the phone up and, maybe a visual. That being said, maybe for our friends who are phoning in and just doing this, is it possible that people are doing this auditorily and they're not seeing visual cues? All right. I guess we'll do our best, and if somebody's speaking without maybe being able to see our visual cue, then we'll let them know. Do we have any community comments to start us out for tonight? Molly, please. Thank
Yes,
you.
I have 2 that I'm going to read, and then I have 1 for myself. 2 that were sent to me. So here's the first one from Jamie Butler. WCC, my name is Jamie Butler. I'm mom to Julian Cardinal in 5th grade and Ronan Cardinal in 1st grade. First, let me say thank you for guiding our school to a wonderful opening this year. I imagine you've all worked tirelessly to make this year a success, and I appreciate all you contribute to us. I am pleased to be a new parent at Winterberry. We were a hybrid homeschool family last year. Prior to that, we were at Anchorage Waldorf School. Thank you for welcoming us. I request that the WCC take up and address the changed ASD COVID policies. Specifically, I implore the WCC to consider promptly making our internal policies more stringent to keep our children safe. I recommend keeping household contacts of COVID positive patients home rather than allowing them to return to school if asymptomatic. I also recommend returning to contact tracing in our school. ASD's policy change issued last week is short-sighted and does not meet basic epidemiology and current CDC recommendations. We can do better for our staff and students. Yes, keeping children in school is important, but we must do so safely. I'm happy to work with the WCC to craft Winterberry-specific COVID policies if the WCC decides to take this up. My family is so happy to have joined Winterberry, the school and the community. Thank you for entertaining my comments and concerns. Thank you, Jamie Butler, MD. How many minutes was that, Sarah?
It was 1.5 minutes.
Oh, good. Okay. This is from Melissa Pike. Winterberry Charter Council. As a mom of a second grader and a COVID-19 epidemiologist, I appreciate the time to address COVID mitigation at Winterberry. Some of you may have heard my previous comments during the August council meeting. I appreciate all of you who have stepped up to do the weekly screening and increase mitigation measures at the school. Evidence for practice shows that a collective approach to COVID mitigation is more effective than an individual approach. I am thankful for the ASD School Board approving mandatory mask guidance that is supported by evidence-based science and follows CDC guidance. I am also grateful for Winterberry's commitment to providing COVID mitigation measures. Over the past year, I have been an infection preventionist working in a local hospital. As an infection preventionist, it is my duty to provide those in leadership with recommendations based on evidence-based science to prevent disease transmission for both patients and staff. I have worked on the front lines of this pandemic, providing hospital staff and leadership with new guidance as it becomes available in this ever-changing world. I have assisted in standing up the COVID ward to prepare for an influx of patients. I have helped establish proper protocols for emergency surgeries for ill COVID patients, such as COVID positive mothers who need emergency C-sections. I have assisted medical staff in selecting the right masks and face shields to prevent COVID transmission. I worked in a hospital during the December 2020 surge and witnessed the overflowing ICUs with COVID patients. Days before Christmas, I saw family members crying outside of ICU rooms for family members who did not make it. On Tuesday, medical professionals testified at the Anchorage Assembly with dire news. Providence is now rationing care. There are simply too many patients and not enough staff. If you need emergency medical care for non-COVID health concerns, you may not be able to receive it. We are in a more desperate position now than a year ago. I am here today to provide the council and Winterberry parents with things we can all do and things we can take control of in a world that seems to be spinning out of control. We can and must band together to protect our kids. Here are 5 things we can do individually that will help protect our community. 1, we must all wear masks with anyone and everyone that is not part of our family unit, both indoors and outdoors. We must opt for outdoor playtime rather than indoor time. Wear a mask when you go to the store and consider opting for grocery pickup. Keep indoor outings to essential purposes. For example, sitting in a cafe right now unmasked or dining out in a busy place is a very high-risk activity, and it puts our community at risk. Order carryout on or order online to continue to support our local businesses. Go to the store off hours, like early mornings or late evenings. Individuals should be choosing masks that are multiple layers of different fabric types, cotton and polyester, or disposable surgical masks, and not just a single layer fabric mask or gaiter. I'm gonna read the first sentence of the next 4 because I think I'm running out of time. 2, we must social and physical distance again until case counts return to a more reasonable level and hospitals are not in crisis mode. 3, we must all get vaccinated against this virus if it is available for your age group. 4, screening testing. Our family gets tested once per week to ensure we are not asymptomatic carriers. 5, if you're sick, stay home. Be courteous and inform staff, teachers, and other parents of the situation. As the COVID virus has adapted to become more transmissible and riskier for those who are unvaccinated, our community in Winterberry also needs to adapt to fight it. We can band together to make things safer for our families with our choices to mask, social and physically distance, vaccinate ourselves, do weekly screenings, and stay home when sick. With light and love, Melissa Pike, MPH, CPH, CIC, COVID epidemiologist. Do I have more time?
Not on that community comment.
Okay. I didn't think so. I'll do my personal one in a little bit. Someone else wants to go.
Tapia Stover, if you'd like to speak, feel free. You have the floor.
Hi, my name is Tapia Stover. We have a kiddo in the kindergarten at or not kindergarten anymore, sorry, first grade, at Winterberry. And I'm on the WPG. I just wanted to, I mean, I'm just echoing the last couple comments, but as a healthcare provider here in town, I would really like to see our community at Winterberry and band together to enhance what we're doing to protect our children. And I think a couple of ways to do that is to be sure that our children are wearing appropriate masks to school. I've seen some masks that don't meet the criteria for keeping those germs at bay. Doing some spacing of the children outside at lunchtime. I know that it's tight spacing, and with the weather coming, we're going to have to be very creative to solve those problems together. I would like to see outdoor masking not be optional, and I would like us to figure out if it's possible to consider reporting outdoor contacts, even though that is above what ASD is recommending at this time. It is what the CDC is still considering a close contact. And then I would just encourage all of our families to do routine testing so that we're catching those asymptomatic cases. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Tapia. Thank you, Tapia. Sorry.
Juniper's hand is up. Juniper
Awesome.
Stone's hand is up.
Hi, Juniper.
Hi, thank you. My name is Carolyn Stone, and this is my husband, BJ. We have Juniper in grade 1, and Juniper Vivian in grade 1, and Lyle in grade 4. I'm thankful to hear all these comments, and I second the comments that I've heard so far. I also have a request. We have gotten information from ASD of a positive case so far already in grade 4 and already in grade 1. And it was very general. And my request would be that we receive more information. And maybe part of that would be a discussion of learning what is possible to discuss and what isn't. I'm imagining that ASD has some limits. And I don't currently know what those limits are, but I, as a parent, would appreciate if there is a positive case, at a minimum in the class, but I'm also interested in positive cases in other classes, to know the date of the positive test, and to know the attendance dates of the child with the positive test. And if there are any known exposures, or if it is a test that it is a positive kind of out of the blue, you know, inside or outside of school, those are different for us in terms of what decisions we would be making as parents. And I think, I know this probably was already talked about, but I'm also wondering if at some point we can just review what the district is considering a close contact, because I know that does vary from the CDC. And so that was just a point of clarification that I wanted to know, because the grade 4 had our child listed as a close contact and grade 1 did not. And it would just be helpful to know those definitions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carolyn, for your words. Molly, are you?
Okay,
Please take the floor.
yes, I'd like to speak as myself, the fifth grade teacher. So when before school started and the WCC agreed to adopt the ASD protocols as is, and I'm not a voting member of this body, but I was in favor of that. And they change almost daily, the protocols. It's impossible to keep up with them. But the last we've heard is that there's no longer contact tracing. A child who has a parent who has tested positive, who is asymptomatic, does not have to quarantine and does not have to test. They can just come to school. I think that in a classroom, if there's a positive case where that child was present at school while they were contagious, that the whole class should still be considered a close contact. We are masking inside, we're distancing as much as possible, but it's really, it's hard to say that two children sitting right next to each other all day long, even with masks on, I would consider that a close contact. And sitting outside at a lunch table outside, I would consider that a close contact also. So I'm not suggesting we do what we did last year, at least at this point, of go our own way with the protocols, but I think it's something we should keep on the back burner, because if it continues to go in this direction, I don't agree with what's happening at the moment. I'm also in favor of mandated vaccines for faculty, staff, and any volunteers who are in contact with unvaccinated children or children who are not able to be vaccinated because of their age, or regular testing of some kind. And I just want to thank Nurse Katrina and Julie, because keeping up with these protocols is really, it's an all-day job. And things could have changed since my comments might be based on protocols that have since changed, but this is my latest information. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Molly. Oh, please take the floor, Heidi.
Hi, I'm Heidi Jensen. I have a first grader, Lucas, and my husband, Thomas, is the fourth grade teacher. And I apologize if I'm repeating what other people have said without realizing it. My internet connection has been in and out, but sort of related to what Molly mentioned. And I think that the ASD form letter about your child has not been considered a close contact, I think it is really misleading. This came up in the first grade meeting yesterday, or a couple days ago also, just in the sense that I know ASD has the ability to decide how they're going to operate, but I'm afraid that form letter, the language in the form letter makes it sound like ASD is making their own definitions of what a close contact is. And so for families or parents who might just be going by that form letter, and they read that my child was not a close contact, that's according to CDC and all the science about viral spread, like that isn't in line. So I think that is misleading for families who are trying to make safe decisions. I think they just need to be informed better. And I think I've heard this said in various ways. So, and what I have heard from other comments before my internet has been in and out, I'm agreeing with a lot of what I'm hearing. So I just wanted to second or third or fourth a lot of those comments. Thanks.
Oh, Heidi, I think it's important to second, third, or fourth, whatever you would like to say. It's important. Well, thank you, everybody. If there there any last minute contributions that you would like to voice? We're here to listen, but I think here in a moment we're going to probably transition to the next part of the agenda, which is the informational reports. Terrific. All right, we will transition. Thank you, everybody who spoke today. We appreciate your bravery and your time. Informational reports, administrators reports. Oh, hi, Miss Pepe Phelps, Principal Pepe Phelps. Would you like to take over the floor?
Yes, thank you very much. All right, principal's report for this month. I have been getting into the habit of reading our mission and our vision statement. Our mission, growing the innate potential of each child, and our vision, to receive the children in reverence, educate them in love, and send them forth in freedom. I break my reports down with head, heart, and hands, heart, hands, and head, just for fun. It's not maybe exact science, but it helps me to organize my thoughts. So in our heart realm, students and teachers are happy to be back in school. That is just sort of a general feeling when I'm in and out of the building and seeing just the warmth that is with all of our students and our teachers. Commending the efforts of all teachers, staff, and parents to get this year off to a great start. Teachers and students are settling into good school rhythms, just in all of the different rhythms that we have, our drop off, our children bringing their lunches, being prepared for school in the rain and the mud, for getting enough sleep and coming to school prepared to learn and things like that. So I really appreciate that from just my position here. And I've been speaking to lots of parents and lots of children lately, and teachers, of course. And in general, it feels like everybody's starting to get back into the rhythm that we remember from long ago. Thank you to families who provide our nutritious and delicious meals on Thursday afternoon, right before our faculty and staff meetings. It's wonderful. We had curry today with salmon on the side, or tofu, and it was fantastic. My mouth is still watering. Thank you for families for their generous classroom donations, just the ongoing flowers that they bring to their teachers, for Flower Fairy offerings, for the things that they do for when teachers request things for their classroom. Just wanted to say a public thank you to parents who give so much to our school and our teachers. I am hosting a Winterberry Community Noon Zoom next Wednesday on the 22nd at noon, and see this week's newsletter. It would be really great if we have about a 40 to 45% click rate on our newsletter. I would love to get that to like a 90% click rate. So when the constant contact newsletter comes in to your inbox, and it should come to every single person's inbox, families at Winterberry, and also in our greater list of friends of Winterberry, past families that want to remain in touch with us. Please click on it and read through and see what's new. There's oftentimes pictures and just delightful things to let you know how we're doing and things that we need help with, or the upcoming events. Hands. Winterberry Family Handbook is here. We have, let's see here, right here. Perfect hand size. You can kind of see about what the size it is. And it is our beautiful little handbook that was worked on diligently this summer, and formatted, organized, and beautifully created in all of her talents by a parent, Kelly Dufort. And, there's just not enough to say about this beautiful little booklet, which will be in the hands of every family at Winterberry. And it is also in digital form on the website currently. So you can go to the Winterberry website and look through that color. It's not color all the way through, but it's, I think it's, anyway. So handbook, thank you, Kelly. We have rearranged our outdoor eating area along the north side of our building to get ready for our snow removal, because snow gets pushed to that side where we've had our picnic tables for eating. We are still working with trying to figure out the very, very best ways to have our children, like I said, we do things a little differently than the rest of the district. We eat out, all of our eating happens outside. So that's one thing that we have decided on early. And now we're just trying to tweak that to get those levels, in safer and safer in different ways. We're purchasing additional picnic tables ongoingly as who's eating at the picnic tables, how's it going, how's the spacing happening. We have seating charts at our picnic tables, so we know who's sitting next to the other during our lunchtime when masks are off and children are eating. We will soon go back to a silent lunch period in the beginning of lunch, at least, where children will sit quietly and eat their lunch, which is a very, very traditional way to eat lunch and snack, to have some mindfulness around eating. And it tends to keep everybody in a quieter, and they eat their lunches also. So we're going to, go in that direction here pretty soon also. Picture day yesterday, yeah, just yesterday, a great success. It was a great success. We had, what are their names? Can't remember. Anyway, this year, in contrast to other years, and we really appreciated their artisan way of photographing our children and our groups of classes. We'll have another opportunity in the spring for a handful of families that could not be at Picture Day with us yesterday, and we'll look forward to that, because we've never done 2 picture days as much as I can remember, 2 fall and spring, but we've been wanting to put that together to do that, so we can see how many teeth are falling out for those first graders. And anyhow, we're gonna make that happen. Let's see here, a couple of upcoming fun things is grade 7 is going on their Kachemak Bay trip next week, across the bay. It's a tradition, and all the pieces in these times have to go together in a very specific way, and they have come together, and I'm very excited about that for these students who are really excited to do this. Grade 6, they're going on a geology field trip tomorrow, which will be really interesting and fun, and aligned with their curriculum. Winterberry cross-country running team, small but mighty. Their running meet is one that we host next week at Kincaid Park. It starts at 5:30. Our team is, I think, the biggest team that we've ever had. They are, Mr. Jeremy Crawford is our coach this year, and I think almost his whole class is on that team, and then other 7th and 8th graders. He's a 6th grade teacher. Please come and cheer them on. So come and just we'll give everybody an idea of how Winterberry goes. In the head portion of my report, the WCC or APC board training is Saturday, October 9th. And I would love to have 100% WCC participation in that training. It's a training that has a variety of elements to it, having to do with Open Meetings Act and, kind of what it looks like to be a board member, what are the roles and responsibilities of charter school board members, et cetera, et cetera. It's incredibly valuable. And I would hope that everyone all WCC members will participate. Calendar, we're working on finishing up. It's a little bit dicier this year as far as when and what we're doing. And we've been working with WPG at their last meeting just to kind of think about what, the faculty holds certain kinds of things throughout the year, and WPG holds another faction. So we're getting all those dates and things aligned so we can put them on our website calendar. So they'll be there for all families to see and look forward to. Faculty and staff thoughts on the beginning of the school year. That'll be in the faculty report tonight. And we have a curative education facilitator. I didn't know whether to call her facilitator or educator. Anyhow, her name is Robin Brown, and she is coming to our school the second week in November to spend a week she'll be here for about 10 days. So she'll spend a good solid week with our faculty, going into their classrooms, meeting individual faculty and staff members to talk about ways of imparting what Rudolf Steiner felt was the curative elements of Waldorf education. So she is very well thought of and comes very highly recommended, and she's excited to be with us up here. And so she'll be here in that week, and there'll be opportunities for community talk with her. She'll speak to our whole community and possibly workshops and things. So as we get her schedule more fixed, we'll figure that out. An open house, Winterberry's open house, will be happening in November during the time that she's here. So she'll be our guest speaker. And so we'll have opportunities typically in our open house for families to come through. And we're trying to be doing this in a method that would be mindful for spacing and things like that. So they'll come through, they'll be able to go to different classrooms and see what it looks like, what different grades look like, or different curriculum look like through the grades. Our sort of tagline terms this year are simplify and fortify. So staying along those lines, that's kind of how we are going ahead with this year. My Waldorf leadership course through the Center for Anthroposophy and hosted by Torrin Finzer, who's a popular Waldorf educator, is going very well. It happens on Saturday mornings, and there'll be a in-person part that will happen in the fall and in the spring, and they have turned that into virtual and or in person. And I feel like that I most likely will participate virtually at this time. I just want to read this Steiner verse that I've been using for this last year and during this time. We must eradicate from the soul all fear and terror of what comes toward us out of the future. We must acquire serenity in all feelings and sensibilities concerning the future. We must look forward with absolute equanimity to all that may come, and we must think only that whatever comes is given to us by a world direction full of wisdom. It is part of what we must learn in this age, namely, to live out of pure trust, without any security in existence. Trust in the ever-present help of the spiritual world. Truly, nothing else will do if our courage is not to fail us. Let us discipline our will, and let us seek the awakening from within ourselves, every morning and every evening. And that is by Rudolf Steiner. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you for the report, Principal Pepe Phelps. Faculty report.
So I don't know if we want to screen share this or not. I don't think Sarah or I are currently co-hosts, but we have it written up if that would be an easier thing for everybody to see. Otherwise, we can just speak it. Should we just speak it? Okay. All right. So we would like to start with celebrations. First and foremost, many classes are full of happy and engaged students. Faculty and staff are excited to finally be back in person and able to do the things that we were unable to do for all of or most of last year. Excitement is that Battle of the Books is going to be starting soon. Student Council is going to be starting soon. And as Principal Pepe Phelps made note of, our cross-country running team is really, really, really doing a fantastic job. The student athletes are really stepping up and really showing their dedication, their determination, and their speed too. Then I'll hand it over to Sarah.
Yeah, we are only a month in, and Lisa and I were thinking about all the things that are happening in school, and we noticed just so many things. So third grade has taken on the school-wide recycling program, and they have already been on a successful berry harvesting trip. They're going to go harvest some quinoa from Emily Becker's house. Fourth grade has a little salmon tank outside their room. They're hatching the salmon. Seventh grade, Principal Pepe Phelps mentioned they're going to Kachemak Bay. And in sixth grade is going on a geology field trip as well. So it's exciting to see how much is alive in the school, how many things are happening everywhere you look. And then we also have a Festival of Courage on September 30th that will be a student assembly event. And it will be student only this year, but we are looking forward to that, having that whole school outside assembly to celebrate courage as we go forth into the darkness.
And then just to fill in a little bit of information for everyone, today we spent a significant portion of the faculty meeting discussing ASD's new COVID mitigation policies and where Winterberry is at in managing our internal COVID mitigation. Some of the things that came up for us during faculty meeting is that ASD is changing policies rapidly and constantly. So it's just wise to be mindful of the fact that the following is based on information that was available to staff and faculty as of today. It could change. So there are some concerns among staff and faculty. One of those concerns is the safety with the changing protocols. Specifically, we are concerned that close contacts are no longer required to quarantine. And per ASD, as long as masks are worn inside, students aren't classified as close contacts. We aren't even sure what constitutes a close contact at this point because it seems to be shifting and changing so much. We talked a lot about the possibility of tightening our practices within the framework that ASD has put forth so that in ways that we can control to make things safer for our students, specifically in the outside realm during recess and during our outside lunch time. We're feeling generally pretty confident that what is going on inside is being held as safely as we possibly can at this point. But we spent a lot of time thinking about and talking about how we can kind of tighten things up a little bit in our outside realm. And then Sarah's going to take some of the next part.
So in the meeting today, there were kind of three categories that came up. Lisa just did the first one, which was some of the safety concerns with the changing protocols. The second area that seemed like a broad category was a staff concern and a wish to maintain the relationship and trust and transparency with our families. A lot of staff had voiced just how difficult it is. This is a new situation for all of us. We haven't had that much experience. And with things changing, what we would like to be able to do is give the best information for families so that they can make decisions for their family. So we are working on redefining our recess and outdoor agreements, and we'll be communicating with them communicating them with families and striving for as much standardization as possible. We asked Principal Peppy Phelps, she's working every day getting new emails. Her and Nurse Katrina are updating us, and it's a huge job, but we were just kind of requesting what kind of information can be shared with families now that we have these standard letters that are changing, so that families can have that information and be able to make the decision that they need to. And then another thing came up with, another thing that had come up was honoring all of the students' individual needs for safety. So making sure that all of our students are happy, but also feeling safe at school. And then the third big category was that despite, we have all these safety concerns, we want to maintain that, but we're also concerned with the idea of breaking with the district and paving our own path in regards to policy. And this specifically came from a couple of individuals, and some of those individuals worked on the policy team last year and know how difficult that was. One of the big things is with ASD continually changing, if a work group gets together, that's a continual task and constant effort to keep up. We have a large and varied community that is split in opinions, and that causes a lot of strife. It causes strife between parents. People feel between teachers and parents. And currently there is room for differing levels of comfort within the framework that Principal Peppy Phelps has worked to put together so that families have options. So I think in essence, we talked about having a discomfort, but there are still things that we have control over that we can do to tighten up what we're doing at Winterberry and make things even better. And knowing that proceeding in a path that would be a break from the district is also something that causes a little bit of anxiety. I hope that kind of sums up in a good way.
Yeah. And then the final thing that that we felt that it was important that this body know is that currently ASD has little to no subpool. And so staff and faculty are being called to step in and fill in the holes and gaps when we have teachers or teaching assistants or other faculty and staff out. So we can't rely on bringing someone else in to cover for a class. We have to do it in-house. And what that is doing is adding a significant additional burden to everyone in addition to their regular duties. And it's leading pretty much everyone to feeling very stretched this year as we're managing all of this new stuff and changes. So that sums up the faculty report, unless you have anything else, Sarah. And we would be happy to entertain any questions at this point.
I guess probably just more of a comment. Thank you, Miss Sarah, Miss Lisa, for your time and attention to that. Definitely something for us to think about and continue the conversation on.
Thank you all very much.
Jessie, would you like to start us on the WPG report?
Yes, thank you. And before I dive into a recap of our last meeting and the different things that are happening, I do want to express really sincere and deep gratitude to all of our faculty and to our staff and to everyone who helps make our school run for our students. The WPG and parent body, we really, really do appreciate all of our teachers and staff and administration. We did have our first meeting of WPG. At our last meeting, we hadn't yet met, and we had a fantastic first meeting with new leadership, first meeting of the year, and a lot was discussed in that meeting. We did opt as a group to decide to limit WPG-led in-person events at this point in time, given everything that's going on. And you saw the cancellation of our welcome gathering, and I think that was really a tough decision to make. But ultimately, just with good conversation, the body felt like that was the safest action, knowing that would have been a lot of people outdoors with their families, yes, but maybe some opportunities for spread, and maybe a little too much risk for comfort for the majority of the group. And to that end, for future in-person events, we're going to sort of take it as it comes and to be determined on what that might look like. Principal Pepe Phelps discussed a calendar and some of the WPG events, and we did give feedback related to that calendar of the items that we'd like to be listed as to be determined. And then the body will continue to discuss those opportunities moving forward. One thing that we are really looking forward to with a lot of anticipation and excitement is our annual garden giving project. That is our annual giving campaign. I want to recognize Iris Hilsinger, who has been a lead on that for a number of years now and is continuing to head it up. We are looking for an individual who would be supporting her with that annual giving campaign. Of course, proceeds that we gain through community giving go towards supporting our teacher training. And now more than ever, that garden campaign is really important for that effort. So look for signs and look for opportunities to give, please, in October and help spread the word. Also, I'm glad that Principal Pepe Phelps mentioned the Thursday faculty meals. This is something that we're continuing to really focus on and uphold within WPG, and that is function by class. And so keep your eyes and ears open for those notices and opportunities to help share love and support to our faculty through Thursday meals. We're also looking for some class reps, both the primary lead class rep, but also alternatives. And we are searching for leadership in hybrid, grade 1, grade 3, grade 7, and grade 8. So if you know of potential parents, contacts, friends, individuals who might be willing to serve in those roles, please do let us know. And just a reminder that WPG is open to all of you, and those reps and anyone interested is warmly welcomed to join us. Those are on the first Thursday of each month from 6 to 8 p.m. We are also looking for a couple of other leadership roles, and I want to share those out to this body just for your awareness. We are looking for a Winter Fair committee chair for our Winter Fair event, and we are really hoping that that is an event that we can hold in the future. Also, we are looking for a committee chair for our annual auction, our Head, Hearts, and Hands auction. And again, this is with a vision and a hope moving forward that we will be able to be gathering safely together for that event, or thinking about how it might shift if necessary. And then I also do really want to take this opportunity to recognize Kelly Dufort. Kelly is actually on with us today, and we haven't heard from her, but just noting her work around all of our school communications and the many, many ways she supports us to that end. And yes, that beautiful family handbook is an excellent example, but there's a lot of other graphics and tremendous work that really helps us with our outreach to families. That's the heart of my updates for tonight, and I'm certainly open to any questions that you might have. Okay, thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Jessie. Sheena,
Yes.
would you like to jump in there for the budget report?
Yes, it's pretty brief. As far as our budget goes, we're still staying on budget. But the new things are, we closed out fiscal year 21 accounts. They gave us an ending fund balance after everything was calculated. We left with fiscal year 21 with $208,927. We have rollover funds from previous years of being of $628,552, with having a total unallocated funds, meaning that's where they put as our unallocated account, which is also known like a savings account, is $837,479. Next part is our student supply fees. We've received, I had a rough estimate. We've received roughly about 40% of our students that have been enrolled, which is really good for September. We have seen an increase in parents paying online, and ASD has been pretty backed up on data entry. So there is some delay. So that's probably, like I said, that's an estimate. So it might be slightly higher. Colleen's been reminding everybody, reminders in the newsletters, things like that. But like I said, 40% is pretty good for September for this time of year. Any questions? No.
This is Jessie, and I have a question, and it actually might bridge to Principal Pepe Phelps as well. I know that in prior meetings we had talked about, social emotional needs for our students in a hope of seeing what might be done through on-site counseling. But I'm also aware that it has been challenging to find that workforce, frankly, and fulfill some of those needs. I just want to see, I'm assuming we have the funds in place for that. That was what was considered for some prior sort of ARPA-derived dollars. I believe that's right, or CARES Act funds, excuse me.
CARES Act. Yep.
CARES Act, thank you. Is there an update that you could share along those lines?
So as far as the financial part, I can quickly, we haven't, we've only been using some of our sub money and things like that, but we're still anticipating using the curative with Robin that's coming in mid-November. We're using some of those funds, the ESER 3, as well as for a tutor and a counselor. As far as update on that, I'll send that over to Peppy.
Peppy's on it. Yeah, I've had those posted and have gone through a cycle of reaching out to interview and get that happening. And I just had one person pop into our interview, my little queue, and I'm trying to get myself organized into a place where I can gather another committee. I can interview this person. The district likes to see 3 to 5 people interviewed, but if there isn't any possibility of those people, that you just have to wait out the time frame. So yeah, would anyone like to be on a hiring committee? Because if they would, I would love to loop them into to that committee. Just, you can email me.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you, Julie. Well, I'm sure we'll be getting back on that soon, but I'm happy to be part of that. May I ask Shana a question? No, go ahead, please. We'll finish up with you.
No, I was just going to say, just anything as far as the CARES Act money, we're thinking of all the varieties of ways that we can, within what we've talked about and what we are desiring to do, which is to support our students. And part of that is also having additional staff that can be hired on to fill in. And it has saved us in a variety of ways, even in the last month, to have additional staff members who actually, in particular that we had subbing for us last year, who comes on and is a very flexible substitute and is here for us when we need him to be, and has helped us out in a variety of ways. So
I guess
it
that
is,
seems,
you know, each, yeah. So
No,
every day
I
I look at
yes.
that. Anyway, go Mark, sorry.
No, that sounds, I guess probably what my question was going to be, which is essentially like, it, when I look at those numbers, Shana, I guess, what do you feel about them? Because I see them and they seem like there's some money there, but the frustration must be that if you can't find substitutes, then, you know, then
Yeah.
all the power that's in the bank isn't going to help us. But I think that that's a great solution. Principal
Right.
Phillips and Shana, is that, you know, maybe we just hire a full-time sub. I expect we're going to need a lot of cycling through.
We have several, and we have, every time we get a good sub, Julie is on it. She is begging them to stay for full time, because we do. I mean, that's what our COVID money is there for. And if we run out of that, we do have a little cushion that we would go to for this time. But right now, we're saving that cushion for other things that we can't use COVID money for. Like if our count starts continuously, going down and salaries go up, we need those buffers that some of the other charter schools weren't as fortunate as us to have. Because we don't know how the times are going to be. And although the 800,000 seems like a lot, it is for most realms of things. But when an entire school year of our budget is almost 3 million, it all it does would pay for teacher salaries and benefits, barely, actually.
Yeah.
So in that realm of things, it's not a lot.
But
That makes sense.
yeah, but we continue the same protocol that we've been doing for the last few years, and especially Shana is very, we run a very lean operation, but we spend and invest money on things that are very important, which human resources are very important to us, and they're very and high quality human resources, not just anyone off in any way, that people that have some sense of our philosophy that we are running our school with, and have respect and understanding of that, people that have good hearts and have great care for children. So all these things are taken into account every single day with every situation. And I have also had the opportunity of subbing in a couple of classrooms this year, which I really appreciate, and have said to teachers, look, if you need a day, even if you're not sick, I will sub for you, because in that way I get to come into your classroom, I get to read your lesson plan, I get to be with your students really intimately for one whole day, and I get to kind of walk in your shoes and know what it feels like to be a teacher, and how it feels to hold a class. And for me, then I have a different perspective. I remember the perspective of what it feels like to be a teacher, and how it feels, and the fatigue, because the fatigue of the end of the day of a teacher, or my last week of couple days, is different than my fatigue of what I do in my current position here, and the people that I interact with, and the computer, and the money, and that's a different kind of energy that's spent. And I really appreciate Shana's absolute focus on what we have and what we need now, and her looking out into the future to try to manage in very, very uncertain times our budget, so that we can keep our school afloat, and we can keep understanding that different people have different feelings, and what charter school families let you know about how they feel by using their feet. It's a school of choice. So they're here because we are making decisions that they value, and they are choosing us. So anyhow, it's a good thing just to remember also.
One final question, if that's okay, Mark.
Yeah, please.
Okay. I was just also thinking about some of the conversation earlier that we heard in our reports around outdoor space, and Principal Pepe Phelps, you mentioned this as well, and just some of the things you're going to need to think about moving forward. And I know that if needed, you'll let us know as a board, if there are major decisions or areas where you're seeking support on. But I'm curious, based on our current budget, do you feel like you have the funds needed to help with outdoor space needs moving forward? Are there limitations or any concerns you have along those lines?
Well, Shana can speak to
So-
this, but go ahead, Shana.
I
go.
can tell you, I mean, and Julie could too. I don't think it's more of a budget thing. I think it's more of we just don't have space. It's kind of like when you have a house and you want an extra room, but you don't have that room. We ran out of property. So as far as being able to get any bigger, we're utilizing as much outdoor space as we possibly can. And Julie, you want to speak more to that?
Well, yeah, and unless we give something up to get something else, and we are examining that also. Like, okay, so we have a space for children to play in, and then we have an eating space. And if need be, in times of safety first, we will move things around as comfort levels and desires for teachers mainly and families dictate. So in that way, we have plenty of money to buy picnic tables. We just, we bought 16, then they didn't have any left. So then they got some more. So we bought 4 more. And then I just said, let's buy 4 more. So we can spread out. So in every way, I am entertaining and working with the constraints that we have property wise, but money for COVID related things, we have very little constraints. It's just about managing that money because we have to spend it in the next couple of years anyhow. So
Yeah.
So we're not saving it for anything. We are identifying the things that are most important. We are doing our research, we're ordering things, we're taking requests from teachers, and we're doing what we need to do for the health and safety as much as we know how or can at this point.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I have a couple of questions. Mark, is it okay if I go?
Yes, please.
So I just had a quick question about HEPA filters in the classrooms, whether I wasn't clear if some classrooms have HEPA filters, if we need to get more, or just like what the relationship between HEPA filters and the existing HVAC system is. So that was my first question. And I guess that's for Julie.
Yeah. We talked about that in staff meeting today. And so when this first came up and ventilation became an issue across the district, I reached out to our district representatives, asked about standards, got our building owner involved. We got everything to the point of all the filterings of our pretty new system. A lot of ASD buildings are much older than 10 years. So we have a relatively new system, and they replace the filters every 6 months. We were in the high standard level of ASD. Then other teachers, through their own desires last spring, brought in other filtration systems. Shana was explaining to the staff that she did a certain amount of research and brought in a ionizing, humidifying air purification for the classrooms. And that was what we did last spring. And those are still in place in the classrooms. And then now, things have been happening kind of out of my purview. And the teachers were saying, can we do that? Do parents have to donate it and whatever? It was like, no, you definitely can come a HEPA filter is a certain kind of filter. So you have I have a HEPA filter on my vacuum cleaner. So it's a certain kind of filter. And they are, depending on which kind and what level and all that, they're very well, recommended. And Shayna said that she would go and do, see where they're available, see, what they look like, how many square feet do they serve, and we just do a little additional project there. We have money to pay for those for each of the classrooms, and we do not need parents to donate those financially. It's a very nice gesture. Parents who want to do things have stepped forward and done things, but it's not because we are saying, no, we can't order that. So anyway, does that answer your question?
I believe so. Thank you.
All right. Committee reports. Administrative committees. Not sure I know that one off the top of my head.
Oh, aren't they listed? Isn't it?
Oh yeah, safety. Yeah. Okay. Safety outdoor space.
Like,
let's start with the safety.
All right. Safety committee, we, as an administrative team, myself, Shayna, Nurse Katrina, and Colleen, and the faculty chair meet once a month and develop a little safety report. Right now, we're working on getting our drill schedule together, like when we're having our drills, our fire drills, our earthquake drills, our ALICE drills. We're working on that right now. And let's see, safety, COVID mitigation, things that are happening. We've talked at length about that. We also, I'm working on a document that needs to be submitted to ASD called, it's an AEP, emergency preparedness document, which will identify our teams that will need to be in place in case of a disaster. There's communication teams, there's search and rescue teams, there's consolidated, different ways that the entire school comes together, and different teachers have different jobs if something like that was to happen. So I'm putting that together for the district. Every principal in the district has to do that. We are, I think that's about it for the safety for this month happening. Outdoor play space. Una Martin, who has headed up our outdoor play space design, is looking to gather more volunteers and people to continue that, to further that vision for our outdoor play space. She has weighed in on a few things just recently, having to do with coverage for spaces that are outdoor eating spaces, particularly the one on our east side here that we're using for kindergarten snack and also hybrid snack or lunch, and also just as far as design ideas for, we consulted with her about, picnic tables, how that works. And she, spoke to us a little bit about that. So as far as that goes, if you are interested in being on an outdoor play space committee, there's all kinds of things that are in the wing. She and the committee of, yesteryear developed all kinds of great future ideas for us to implement that will take grants and miscellaneous things like that. And we've done a lot the last few years. We've graded things and made kind of a little luge element to our sledding hill, created a ice rink space, and some hard spaces for ball bouncing and jump roping and things like that. So we've done a lot of great things in the years past and are looking forward to doing more in the years to come.
That's super fun to hear. Thank you, Principal Pepe Phelps. WCC subcommittees, legislative. So Jesse, hi
I
Jesse.
do not have
All
anything
right.
of significance to report this evening.
All right. Peter, would you like to?
Yeah, to
grant
the
committee?
great shock of everybody, there is something to speak about under Grants Committee in this particular meeting. There's an Alaska Community Foundation opportunity with submittal by November 4th. That is pretty general, other than it says that projects should reflect, it is for schools, and that projects should reflect an innovative or creative approach to education. Bing, impact multiple students, demonstrate sustainability if startup funds are requested, and be completed for this academic year. And then it lists past grants have included awards to purchase classroom supplies, recreational equipment and uniforms, classroom or library books, technology components, instruments or sheet music, emergency needs, and material needs that support enhanced student access. So really, from my perspective, if there is kind of a simple, easily packaged thing that maybe one teacher or project could utilize for up to $750, well, yeah, instruments, but 750 is for the kind of instruments we need is a low limit, you know. Yeah, but 750 is the max for that particular. It's also, it seems like it's going to be a fairly simple grant to send in, but having gotten this information recently, what I need to do is figure out whether or not there's an existing login, because I know from the Community Foundation system, if I can get that, there's a lot of auto population and my ability to copy paste into new forms, those sorts of things. Happy to do it from scratch, certainly if there isn't an existing thing, but would love a login. But so, I guess what I would be looking for, and I'm happy to put together that kind of proposal. I know that for these levels of Community Foundation grants, the word counts and complexity are not beyond what I can do in a month in October to have submitted by November. So really, if there's an opportunity for staff to put forward, okay, play equipment and apple orchard. Yeah, I know that project when we were working on it, that was big fingers crossed, would have been super lovely. Perhaps a pared down version where, what's purchased are the plants themselves, because I feel like that meets it's innovative, educational, those sorts of things. But great ideas popping up in the chat. I would just have to have one kind of nailed down that staff really wanted me to go for, and perhaps it could be something for discussion and decision next Thursday's staff meeting. That way I could have a direction to go in by then. But just something to be brewing and thinking about for staff, unless there was something already running through your head at a million miles an hour, Julie, or that the staff already talked about that we want to move forward with.
Well, all those things on the list are, for our upcoming strings program, when we are ready to launch that. And we did kind of go the distance in our orchard project and found out some information about, because we have to have places to plant things, trees, and found out some information about what we could and could not do on the property. So I'm happy to take information from anyone, the staff, and pass that on to you, have more conversation, Peter, with you as far as thoughts that I have or whatever. Happy to do it. And thank you for your offer to do that.
Yeah, and Molly, it is indeed max of 750, big frowny face on that, but it is, an availability for some very specific project. I feel like I could probably get a narrative together in a week and a half or so from when I had the idea, and then get revisions or ideas from school to make sure it's a nice clean package. And I think a month is a very reasonable timeline for doing something like that. So anyway, that's me this
Peter?
time around. Yes.
I have one question. Can you tell us once more, can you verbalize exactly what AACF is asking, their parameters? It was like 2 lines. You read it out loud.
It said that projects should reflect an innovative or creative approach to education, impact multiple students, demonstrate sustainability if it's startup funds that are requested, and be completed within the 2021-2022 academic year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I assume that what they mean is that not that, like in the case of a string instrument, say that it would its use would be completed in 21-22, just that like its purchase and getting implemented would be within that year. But any other thing that meets that criteria, I think would work.
It's fun. Thanks, Peter, for bringing that to the table. Should we transition to business? All right. WCC board openings. Did Miss Diane have a chance to speak at the last meeting? And I'm not sure I've seen that. Great. Many of you probably already know Miss Diane. My family certainly does as well. So can everybody help me with what the next step for that would be? As I sift through the bylaws and kind of shift through how to fill these positions and what positions we have open, and just try to put the face to the name of that. Peter, can you, thanks. Kind of
yeah, I spoke to this for a little bit in the last meeting, having to fill your shoes one time around. And really from my looking into this, it seems that because it's filling vacancies rather than electing in the typical cycle, as long as we have a majority of the board, not a majority of a quorum. So we have to have a majority of, council, a majority of the council vote for the admission of somebody to the council. Then we are fine, and then they end up on the regular re-election cycle after that. I do think, though, that for any given candidate, we should probably adhere to, generally there are certain documents filled out and submitted to the group for review before we then vote. So it's not just, oh, we all know that person, they're lovely, let's bring them in. And so if there were a period of time in which we could have these documents for review, perhaps, a week, I think then voting on bringing them in would be a totally reasonable thing. It seems like doing that by next month. And I'd be willing to help with whatever's necessary. I just didn't know all parties involved. And I'd also be happy to look into sending them the necessary documents to fill out, having filled them out at one time myself. I'm sure that I'll have some level of familiarity.
Terrific. Yeah, I'd be happy to help with that as well, Peter. Great. Do we have like 3 openings? Did we discuss in the last meeting what our gaps that we're looking to fill are?
This
I was
is
about
Jessie.
to speak and then saw Jessie. Sorry.
I think that it would be really helpful to know specifically, once again, the seats that are currently open, so how we identify those. Are those the community seats, their parent seats? So what is currently open and what the terms are? That would be helpful. I've also heard discussion from this group around seeking opportunities to increase diversity within our group, and then also thinking about it from the terms of our expertise and honing in on some of the areas of expertise that we might be missing from our virtual table to think about recruitment strategies around to fill those needs.
If I remember correctly, which I will double check after this, it was 1 parent specific seat and then 2 that were parent/community member seats that were open at this time.
That seems to resonate. Thank you very much, Peter, for helping jog us on that.
Terrific. Keeping with the APC standards there, is it fair enough for me to take the most recent team manifests that I have and ask people if they believe they're still involved, and is their data current, and would they please send that back to us, and then I'll update the most recent roster, and then hopefully by the next or maybe even mid-month, we can have a formal double-checked roster. Does it sound like a plan? Okay. Just as I took over a role from Alex, and then Alex took over, and just maybe we lost some of the information there in the shuffle, but I imagine as a cumulative party there, we can get it all together. Anything else? Peter, is there, you were saying that we probably need, not necessarily a resume, but a letter, and this is why I'm interested, and something to that.
There was something specific that was filled out. I do remember, for my particular process, I think it was 4 or 5 questions, and there was some sort of resume background thing submitted. That was for an election, and I didn't see those processes actually noted specifically for filling vacancies. But I still think it'd probably be important to try and do that in this current time. That way, just in perpetuity, we've done our due diligence for whoever that is. One thing that I did see was that while terms are 2 years, it seems like it's really easy to override that and allow people to continue to serve after that. So it seems like somebody can fill the vacancy, and then they would be part of a next election cycle, and then their 2 years would begin, but that wouldn't necessarily mean they ended at the end of that 2 years. So it's potentially a very long commitment, depending on how long they want to stay for whoever fills that vacancy.
Yeah, I imagine it's that fine line between inclusion, but making sure everybody has a seat at the table. But at the same time, I'd love to have a full team. Awesome. Yeah, I'll spearhead on that one. I'm happy to.
This is Sue. I had a parent show interest, but is there that form letter, those questions, is that someplace that, does somebody have that send it out to the group and I could send it on to the parent, or is there someplace I can look for it?
So I might have to follow Peter's suit and just see what I originally sent. I'm not even sure. I'd probably have to go through my emails to find it. I believe there
was also an elections committee, the members of which probably have documents.
I can help find that. But I put it in the chat. I think that a nice approach to suggest, especially if we're thinking about trying to be inclusive and welcoming to individuals in our broader community who very well could have a lot to offer, but looking at resumes and these things, they might shy away. A letter of interest, just seeking a simple letter of interest, and we can hit upon those key questions. Maybe that's helpful to inform that submission, but just explaining a little bit about their background and a reason why they're desiring to serve. That might be a fair way to approach it in asking for submission. And I'm happy here in a minute, I'll look for those questions. I'll put them in the chat.
I think that's a wonderful statement there, Jesse, is to be inclusive. Thank you. Yeah, just general why. Tell us something. Awesome. Next topic. All right. WPC board training. We did kind of talk about that earlier, didn't we? Principal Pepe Phelps. Yeah. Well, I'm interested in going, so I hope to pull my weight on the 100%. I know, I think Toppy said she's working on that day, but we'll figure something out. And it's a Zoom, right?
No, it's in person.
Oh, all right. Going rogue.
Yeah, it's in person at Highland Tech and lots of inside. It's at the ASD building.
Awesome. Lisa, were you about to say something?
I was just going to say it would be super helpful for me organizationally to have that in written form, like when it is, where it is, what the duration of it is, and a reminder of the date, because it'll last for about 5 seconds in my head right now. So if it could be written down, that would be super helpful for me.
Gratitude. Should we start that? I'll kick it off on gratitude. I'm very grateful for the people who are part of other boards that come to represent that team's work to our team, whether it's faculty, staff, or WPG. Thank you for double dutying on and bringing cohesion between our three parties. That to me every time is very impressive, and that level of commitment. Thank you. And all of our new people who joined us today and spoke. Like it is not without care that I appreciate the courage of speaking up and letting us all know what you think, because we care. That's it for me. Thank you.
I have a great deal of gratitude to the parents that serve on this board and to the faculty who take the extra time to come and serve every month on this board and the WPG. And yeah, just have a lot of gratitude for our community, for the honest and direct communication that happens ongoingly. Even when it's hard to talk about and difficult to say, and people are sensitive about stepping on each other's toes or things, it is our agreements with each other, and it really does make us who we are, to be clear and directly communicate with each other. So I appreciate that.
I found the document that you submit in order to be part of the board, pulled it up on my screen, and I thought maybe I would just read my answer to the first question on the sheet as my gratitude thing. Why would you like to serve on the WCC is the first question. And it was, I want to serve because I know that I possess a helpful skill set, and I have seen both of my children benefit immensely from the philosophy of and approach to education held by Winterberry. School was the only safe space I had as a child, and I know from working in children's behavioral health that I am by no means alone in this. What is provided by a loving school to a child in need of it cannot be overstated. It quite literally saves lives. So that's my appreciation moment and my first statement of why I wanted to serve on this body.
That's beautiful, Peter. Thank you for sharing that. And I'll just fill in, and then I'll share some gratitude, but I will say that the next two questions, so there are three, we say, what vision do you have for the future of the board and for the school? And the other question asked is, what skills do you hope to bring to the board? So I'll put those into the chat here in a minute as promised. But those, I think, are still very spot on and helpful to help guide that letter of interest, I think. I want to share deep gratitude to our teacher. I have one student now at our school. It's still hard for me to remember that. My eldest is a sophomore right now in West. But Mr. Crawford just continues to be a bright, shining star in our family's life. Not only does he just bring 110% to his work as our teacher for my daughter in grade 6, but he also steps up in so many other ways for our school and has for so long. And we've heard comments about him becoming our coach for cross country. And that is a huge undertaking on top of full days and coursework and work with families and children and other duties as faculty members, to put that effort in every day to run with our kids and to inspire them with their athletics is really, really remarkable. And then just witnessing, I've never had this happen before, but, having a child not in classes for a little bit, and, the offer to bring materials by on top of all those things, and being able to accept that and say, yes, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Again, just above and beyond in terms of support as a teacher. So I'm grateful to him.
Well, please feel free to speak, Tapia.
I honestly don't know if gratitudes are generally reserved for members of the WCC board, but I just wanted to put out there that I am continuously impressed by the grace with which our teachers and staff, the WCC members and the WPG members, navigate these really tricky times and do it all along, while supporting beautifully and doing such a wonderful job teaching our young people. And I just want to express how grateful I am, and that I think it's tricky sometimes for us to express the things that we are trying to change or maybe even are unhappy with. And I hope that we all understand that those are all things that we're working towards, but in the background of all of that is immense gratitude for all the effort that goes into this beautiful community. Thank you.
Would anybody like to motion to adjourn? Possibly I jumped the gun on that, but thank you everybody for your gratitude. And our timeliness on today's meeting. I believe I need somebody to go ahead.
I will make
Peter.
the motion to adjourn.
You've read my mind.
I second.
Thank you, Jesse. Everybody have a good night. Thank
Are
you.
we singing? Do we sing?
We sang earlier.
Well, how about happy trails to you?
Does WCC sing? I'm sorry. I always ask this for WPG, but help me. No?
Quite frankly, I think it slipped a little bit as we went into Zoom land. But I think a lot of our culture, is brought through that. So it probably is worth taking a moment to be together in that sphere.
What do you think?
We
Principal
can
Pepe
sing the
Phelps?
birthday song again.
I thought we got that one, but I'll tell you, I'll put it on the next agenda unless somebody knows of a song today that they would like to sing, especially.
You know what? Why not? I mean, for the good of the order, I will sing Happy Trails to you if you would like. Okay, I'm getting a few thumbs up. This is one of the goodnight songs to my daughters for years and years and years. So it's one I know I can actually sing from memory. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling on till then. Who cares about the clouds if we're together? Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet again. Good night, everybody.
I feel really sleepy now. Thank you, Peter.
Good night.
You're welcome.
I'm glad that's on YouTube.
Awesome.
Thank you, Peter.
I'm gonna
Thank
do it. That was
you.
wonderful. It was wonderful. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye,
Have a
everybody.
great night.
All right.
Beautiful.
Bye.